Cristine, so you played a key role in the DA's decision to clear all marijuana convictions in San Francisco. How did this come to be? Why did the office decide to do this?
Yeah, you heard in the video, there are over 70 million Americans with criminal records. That's greater than the population of Australia. There are over 8 million Californians with criminal records. And the video let you know over 500,000 are added every year. And as district attorneys and prosecutors, the question for us is, do we have an obligation or responsibility to look backwards as we're talking about criminal justice reform and reducing mass incarceration and the effects of the war on drugs? And the answer for DA Gascón was unequivocally yes. If we want to move forward in a more humane, less carceral society, we have to look backwards as well. So when Prop 64 passed and marijuana was now legal, the question was, what did that mean for all the people and communities that we had criminalized for that same activity for decades? And to us, without some type of radical accounting for that injustice, legalization itself was not just. And so we went about trying to understand as an office what we could do to impact that, what tools were at our disposal as prosecutors to bring equity to the conversation around legalization. And that meant looking at old cases. You heard in the video, the traditional process is exceptionally onerous. You have to, one, know you have a conviction that might even be eligible. You have to know where that conviction took place, where that courthouse is. You need to likely hire an attorney, file a petition, tell my office that you would like your petition heard, schedule a hearing with the court, and have a hearing. And you would be unsurprised to know most people do not pursue that path. In fact, only 3% of people nationally take that effort. The question for us, though, was we're not opposed to people getting that relief. We had made a decision that we thought those convictions should be expunged, and so we decided to do the work for them. We said, no need to ask, no need to apply. We've got it. We're going to proactively file that petition for you. Thanks.
And we were so inspired by the announcement because we had seen firsthand, as you heard in the video, how the petition-based process isn't designed to provide relief to everyone who is eligible today. It's not designed for the digital age. And so we developed an opt-in version and in early 2016, and we were trying to solve that key issue. How can we connect an individual with lawyers across counties who would then file petitions on their behalf? And the service is live in 14 counties and has served over 12,000 people. But every county doesn't have a public defender or a legal aid attorney providing, and when they do, they're not providing these post-conviction services. And even when they are, what we find is that they're at capacity and under-resourced. So folks are waiting for months to find a lawyer to help them through this process. And for us, we're working to clear all eligible criminal records. And so we needed to find another way to serve everyone who was eligible. And so we had to ask a different question. And so we started to build some early technology that would read a state criminal record, evaluate eligibility, and then generate the form that could be filed with the court. When we heard your announcement, and we reached out to see how we could help because perhaps there was a connection. And there was. And we wanted to help because the policy that you set out to implement to proactively review and file petitions on behalf of individuals so that they can get that relief automatically is a really important one. And for us, justice is getting the implementation right, as this crowd has heard us say before from this stage, especially on these types of reforms. And as we heard in the video, it's because there's so much at stake for people's lives, for our communities, for our country. And so how did it all turn out, Cristine? What was the result of our work?
Well, I'll just tell you, never underestimate the value of a good question and the ideas it generates. We've made just remarkable change for San Franciscans. We'd still be at that work, frankly, with kind of stone tablets and chisels hammering away if Code for America hadn't shown up. So I can now sit here and say we're done with the work because of the technology. And really, we had what I would say is a great idea, but Code for America made it an elegant one. And through our work, we were able to clear all of the marijuana convictions in San Francisco. That was over 9,361 convictions.
That's great.
It's great. What's more remarkable about that, though, is only 23 of those people had actually applied to to have their convictions erased. So had we not engaged in this partnership and this endeavor, that's like, I'm not going to do the math, like over 9,000 people, 9,338-ish people that would still be walking around with a marijuana conviction on their record, unnecessarily completely entitled to that relief. So that's pretty exciting. And of those people, about 33% were African Americans, 25% were Latinos. So we really did some work to start cutting away at the racial disparity that exists in our enforcement around drug activity. And maybe even most exciting, probably what you heard from Erlan too, of the convictions we took care of, 1,336 people now have no felonies on their record. The marijuana case was the only felony on their record. And another 729 have no record at all, meaning the pot case was the only thing on their record. So that's about 2,000 people that we have dramatically reduced the barriers for them to find employment, get financial aid, housing, take care of their children, all things that benefit all of us, really. It makes for a much better society. So those things have just been really phenomenal and exciting to see. And then as we were kind of mentioning, it's catching on. I mean, I have to say, Evonne, I think we sparked a movement. There's cities all over the country reaching out to us, Chicago, Baltimore, New Jersey, Seattle, trying to understand what we did and see if they can replicate it, and leaning heavily on the policy we developed and the technology that Code for America developed to find that perfect fusion of doing this automatically and at scale.
Yep.
So tell me, Evonne, what you ultimately built looks a lot different from when we started working together. Why is that?
It is. As Jen had said yesterday, we're actually now on version 6 of Clear My Record from the original version. And the last couple versions aren't minor changes. They're actually completely different products, a completely different product, because the expectations, the requirements, the landscape has changed dramatically. So when we started, the idea was to help your office with this ambitious idea and build technology so that your team didn't have to rely on paper, people, and overtime to get the job done. Because you had said it's an important policy. You were going to do whatever it took. And so at that time, the only way we could get data was having your staff pull criminal records one by one. And that takes a bit of time. As we see, it's a bottleneck in the process. And so what we were building was technology that would be centered on reading thousands of PDFs and building the technology that could then scan and review every page of those records to find those eligible convictions and then generate the paperwork that you would then file with the courts. But then midway through the pilot, the law changed. Right. And the law changed in a way that every county was now going to do what you were going to do. But they would all be receiving raw criminal history data. And so there was no need to pull records one by one, which was incredible because it solved a key bottleneck when we think about scale, when we think about how this is going to map over to the entire state. It also meant we had to rethink our approach to how we are building technology. And so our goal has been clear from the beginning, and our goal is not to build a particular technology or to use a particular technology. It's to clear all eligible criminal records and to do so automatically and expeditiously so folks experience this relief. And so we built an entirely new product, and it is aimed at helping your office, make sense and make meaning of this massive new data set. But what it also meant is now every county in the state is going to be able to use this technology and our work together to do the work that your office has already done. And it actually sets up the courts to complete the process so that they can process the files digitally. And so for us, it was really important that we were focused on solving real problems. Because if we knew the solution at the beginning, we would have been fixated on trying to prove that our solution had value and missed some key opportunities to actually deliver value, which is really important, clearly. And so with each change, we adapted and applied what we had learned from the previous iteration, from what the landscape was telling us, how the law was changing, and worked towards that so that we were always focused on clearing as many people's records as possible automatically and as quickly as possible. And so speaking of change, I'm curious, how has this effort changed the way that your office thinks about its work, that you think about your work, and what's next for San Francisco?
Yeah, it's really been a revelation for us. I know it seems obvious maybe at this point that we would do that automatically for people, but I can tell you at the moment we decided to proactively remove people's convictions. We were the first office in the country to do that, and to think about what it meant to look backwards at the effects of mass incarceration from the role of a prosecutor. And so now it has become part of what we think about as an office. After we finished the marijuana work, we asked ourselves, what else is holding people back that we have an opportunity to impact as prosecutors that would make our communities safer and give individuals a better opportunity to thrive? And that brought some really great thinking forward for us. We actually we have a bill right now in front of the state legislature here in California, AB 1076. And what that does is really blows out the work we've been doing around marijuana and adds a whole range of other convictions that are similarly holding people back from opportunity, making it harder for them to get employment, housing, and all the things we would hope people would have when they return home. That's working its way through the legislature. We would welcome your support. It will help over 2 million Californians that have a conviction on their record, and millions more that have arrests that didn't result in a prosecution. So it's really critically important legislation. So if you're on social media, hashtag AB 1076, call your legislator. And then we're really trying to think more about centering and elevating the voices of formerly incarcerated people in our own work. We spend thank you, yeah, you should all be doing that. We spend a lot of time at San Quentin taking our prosecutors there to work with the men that are inside. And on the other side of that, we have a formerly incarcerated advisory board that comes to our office and advises us on the policies that we're contemplating in the office. And it has really brought refinement and clarity to a lot of our work. We're actually looking to hire some of those people, so if there's any funders in the room, please find me afterwards. I'm eager for some support there. And to any of you that are employers in the room, I really want to encourage you to think about your opportunities to make an impact here, not just with the tools that you build and create, which are dramatic, very important, but also with the employment opportunities you have. Can you hire somebody that's exiting the criminal justice system and give them a second chance? I think all of us doing that is what's going to make the difference.
That's great. That's great. That's great.
What's next for the Clear My Record team, Evonne?
Yeah. We're really excited. As you heard the excitement I had in my voice in the video, the vision for Clear My Record is to clear all eligible criminal records. And the way we plan to do that is to expand, streamline, and automate the record clearance process. And to do that in California, as we have been in partnerships, great partnerships like we have with your office, but also in states across the country. And this, for us, is how we start to transform the way government is delivering services to those most impacted by the criminal justice system. So in California, the pilot is setting the standard for implementation of this new law. And so we're crafting a blueprint utilizing the lessons learned from the pilots. We are developing a tool so that all California counties can do what we've done in the pilot counties, which is really exciting. And we'll be releasing the blueprint and the tool this summer. And what that means is we are on track through the pilot to help dismiss and reduce nearly 100,000 convictions in California by the end of this year. And with the use of the blueprint and the tool, the remaining convictions, 100,000 convictions by next July, which is really exciting. And our work together has also sparked, as you talked about, this movement, a national interest and conversation around that record relief should be provided automatically. And so we want to help design, pilot, and implement reforms in at least 10 states over the next 3 years, because this work is really important. The impact that it has on folks' lives is really much needed. And we need all of you to make this happen. As Cristine mentioned, there's a number of ways to get involved. If you live in California, please do support AB 1076. It's in the Senate. Call your senator, let them know that you support it. Also, urge your local district attorney to do what the district attorneys in our pilot have done, what Cristine's office have done, by adopting our blueprint and our tool, and make sure that they're dismissing and sealing all marijuana convictions in your county. They have the tool to do it. Now the question is just whether they will. And so your voice will be heard. So submit op-eds in your local paper, tweet about this work and your expectation that they're implementing this policy. And wherever you live, states across the country are implementing and considering automatic record clearance reforms. Cristine mentioned a few. So make sure if your state is doing that to lift your voice and make your voice heard in support of those reforms. They're really important. So thank you. Thank you all, and thank you, Cristine.
Yeah, thank you, Evonne.
Yeah.
Great.